same time, I mean, there's no mercy in things like Grandmasters. You really got to lock down and make every single series count if you can.
Yeah. And luckily for him, as you can see on the screen there, despite Eddie being the highest win rate player overall in Grandmasters thus far this season, he has not been able to beat lnguagehackr. lnguagehackr has beaten him all 3 times that they've played against each other. So I don't know if, that's just, it's a 3-match sample size, could be pretty small, or if lnguagehackr just kind of has Eddie's number, has a good read on him as a player. Both these players, since they've been in Grandmasters, have been at the top or near the top. And judging based off lineups, I do like lnguagehackr's chances because he went for, like you mentioned, seems to be a pretty consistent target priest strategy. And Eddie has priest, so this is the big deck for Eddie. If he can find a win with Highlander priest, it kind of turns the series upside down.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Eddie was hoping to, say, target more of the traditional survival druids with his lineup and aim it at being able to go over the top. But at the same time, it's not like he had a hard target lock set. I think he was just playing good decks with a little bit of flex with things like the Hunter may be able to get an advantage in certain matchups. But we will see this early druid be able to pump out that early overgrowth for a lnguagehackr. Very strong start and kind of negate some of that downside of that ramp early on while having the opportunity to maybe pick up a dragon with Breath of Dreams for the following turn. And if not, no big deal because he still ends up drawing a card and he has a play for turn 5 anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Although, question, we've been seeing some players really try to think about timing for nature studies because, nature studies, there's 2 ways to look at it. 1, you want a card to play right now. 2 is finding a card for later on. And so it seems like lnguagehackr doesn't want to just throw out that nature studies because I don't think he had anything to pick up. So I think it was a good note to actually wait. He also did hit the Alex Straza off the Breath of Dreams.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Oh my gosh.
He nailed it. Pretty crazy, honestly. It will help him get to that Guardian Animals a turn sooner. Problem for lnguagehackr, though, is Malagos Druid, especially the type that runs, the full top end, Geppetto, Alex Straza, you have to cut beasts. You cannot afford to run the full beast package most of the time, or else you're cutting too much removal and getting a little too greedy. And he's drawn both of his Twilight Runners, so the only beast he has left in his deck are the 2 Teacher's Pets, which means that if he draws one, this Guardian Animals will only summon 1 beast, and even if he doesn't draw one, the second Guardian Animals in his deck is dead draw. So we'll see how it's going to work out for him. But Eddie, comfortable to just Shadowwood Ruin to deny the card draw from this Twilight Runner. Understanding that, that's how lnguagehackr wins the game. He's a combo deck. He's not going to pressure too much. That Shadowwood Ruin, yeah, sure, can be saved. Your Spare Unleash, but the Spare Unleash is usually the last-ditch effort for the Malagos Druid. First and foremost, you have to worry about not letting them draw too many cards get close to their combo.
Yeah, that does make sense. And Eddie, not happy to see what he has to be doing here, but needs to find some way to establish tempo back on his side, otherwise he's going to fall too far behind. It does have another Twilight Drake to play, so good use of Raise Dead in this spot just to ensure that he's keeping the same amount of presence on the board, or rather, as much of a presence on the board as he possibly can, because he can't really afford to greed it and try to line up Raise Dead for anything else at the moment. I am curious by this overflow because it does allow lnguagehackr to even trade into the Twilight Drake and pick up maybe even a card to help him if he, say, finds Bog Beam. Does not end up getting it. Oh, I apologize. I was looking at the wrong deck list. He does not have Bog Beam in his deck. It's Eddie's Druid that has the Bog Beam. Instead, he does find Moonfire, which I don't know if that's something that he wants to part ways with right now. I think he just go ahead and trade in. Oh, you talked about establishing board tempo. Do you just play this Cabal Shadow Priest? You don't have any way to make it combo until a wave of apathy or anything else at the moment.
Let me change your mind.
Oof. That feels bad. And so with that, Language Hacker does pick up a swipe. He's been looking for an opportunity to maybe think about Geppetto Joy Buzz, but also he can just pressure his opponent. Alexstrasza on curve. Given that he has double swipe in the hand and an opportunity to kill, I like it. Malygos Druid is definitely about playing big damage combos, but doesn't always mean about playing Malygos. And Eddie finds Siamat off the top, which could end up helping here, but I think he really needs to find a removal, because when your opponent plays Alexstrasza pretty much on curve, you're expecting your opponent to have some kind of burst follow-up. Not to mention that Eddie also has Apotheosis, so he could end up using Shadow Word Death, Apotheosis, trade, and heal either his minion or himself. And then the other alternative is to play Soul Mirror here, have things trade over. Most likely whatever beast comes out, barring something catastrophic like King Mukla, he would be able to deal with it. So there's actually 3 different responses that Eddie could have chosen here. And I think I like this one the most, simply because it helps with the immediate threat. Oh my god. Emperor Cobra. I mean, that's not the end of the world here, as Language Hacker most likely could remove it anyways with Guardian Animals. But this is already looking real good for Language Hacker. Very close to the finish line here, as I think he's lacking just a little bit extra. Maybe the Force Ward Umu would have been enough here. But it is close.
What to do? Hey, sorry, Dan, I'm back.
Okay, looks like DJ. I thought I heard you drop out. I wasn't sure, but
yeah,
it's a pretty tense situation here, and looks like Language Hacker is moments away from being able to put the nail in the coffin and bury game number 1 here with his combo damage. The issue is that if he wants to remove the Cabal Acolyte, he would want to swipe, but that does limit the amount of development that he could do afterwards, because he's going to be only on 6 mana crystals. So that means he either plays his Runic Carvings or his Twilight Runner if he wants to end up doing the swipe. He ends up going with the Ysera and then trade. So what's the thinking here from Language Hacker? He played Alexstrasza really aggressively, and then he lets Eddie rebound all the way back up, and so just prioritizing the Ysera here instead of, say, trying to press in for combo damage. Do you like this?
Has he used Forest Ward and Omu? Sorry, I missed like a bunch of turns in the middle of the game.
Oh, no worries. I wasn't sure where exactly. Apologies again, as does seem to be one of those days where remote casting can show, while it might be convenient at times, it also has some limitations.
Yeah. Did he use Forest Warden or no? Not yet.
He did not. It is one of the cards remaining in his deck. I was thinking about Guardian Animals as well to pull out of the deck, so that way Geppetto could pull Omu.
Okay.
But I think he had hand space issues as well, and he also still needed to find a way to use his mana effectively. Finds Omu off the top.
Okay. Not too much to be able to do with it without Germination in hand, it looks like. But yeah, the Alexstrasza, if you don't hit Omu, or if you don't hit like specifically Alexstrasza and Malygos from the Geppetto, like if you draw them both naturally, the Alexstrasza is going to be really tough to use, like to actually set up the combo damage. So just using it, playing it as a big threat, and hoping that the damage actually sticks is fine if you're not picking up those two, one of those two at 1 mana. You see, he still has plenty of threats. As long as he's not like too worried about like Mind Render or Lucia, he can hold on to things and still be able to deal, in this case, 30 damage, as long as he does find the Germination, because Eddie at any point, as long as Language Hacker keeps putting threats on the board, that's what the Ysera Unleash is for. There's no opportunity for Mind Render, so it's just a waiting game from Language Hacker, just waiting for Germination, and then he should be able to have the win from there.
Yeah, it seems to be a defense measure against any kind of disruption that Eddie wants to do, which I can definitely buy, since we've all been there as players on the opposite side of Druid, when they start playing their dragon waves that they draw, it becomes really overwhelming to have to clear that and then worry about what ends up happening afterwards with follow-up damage. So Eddie has the Soul Mirror ready to go. Language Hacker not happy to see that. Given the current way things are developing, it does seem like Language Hacker's gonna have to go through a little bit more of the honest way. Geppetto will not hit any important targets whatsoever, which kind of makes it a little bit of a dead card, because I think there's only 2 minions left, if I count correctly. 2 minions left in his deck are 1 Teacher's Pet, and I think Speaker Gidra.
No, he has only Speaker Gidra.
He pulled double Teacher's Pet in the beginning.
Yeah.
You're correct.
Yeah, so it's only Speaker Gidra.
Oh, it's okay. Okay, so that does... For some reason, I thought he had 1 left, which felt like why I was thinking about Guardian Animals earlier, but that does make a lot of sense.
Yeah. But, I mean, honestly, at this point, Language Hacker, as long as his hand doesn't get disrupted, he does have lethal as soon as he draws.
Oh, I like this.
Germination, but he's going to go for it now.
Right.
Oh, what? Oh, what? But okay.
Okay.
He can't do it, obviously, because it came from the spell burst of the Onyx Mage Scribe.
Right. He has to actually go a little bit quicker.
Make a 4/9.
He doesn't have enough time.
Right?
He doesn't have enough time. Oh!
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So he's thinking that the only real way Eddie has still left to clear the board is Plague of Death, and he still has 4 portals in his deck. And if Plague of Death comes out, he can just kind of draw cards and get those last portals out. And also, there wasn't really much for him to do last turn. He doesn't feel comfortable just passing over the turn, just in case, like Germination, which was a lethal draw off the top, would have been like his bottom card or something along those lines, because his entire hand would have been combo, and then he could also, his game plan could always get ruined at that point by Mind Render or Lucia. So he realized that he had to build a board. So I don't mind this. And now, I mean, he's Malagos double Moonfire in hand.
Oh my goodness.
12 from hand. Twin Tyrant, I mean, it can take 7 power maximum off board. I mean, that's if it hits exactly Omu plus 1 of these.
Right, which is not super likely, I think, because he has to basically hit that Omu or he's going to die. Yeah, I think he's dead.
17
Hold
plus
on, let's
12.
count.
Yep. Oh, wait, no. He's overloaded.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Swipe double Moonfire, 6 plus 7. And then he has 17 on board, 24. He's 2 damage off. Is there a draw that can get him there? No, there's not. Well, I mean, if he draws a Dream Portal and it's spell damage, sure.
You're right.
But he is overloaded.
Maybe best just to remove a little bit. You can play like Swipe and Bee. Oh, you don't have enough board space for bees, actually. I think you can Swipe Bees and then save the Malagos combo for next turn. Looks like he's going for Overgrowth right now. Perhaps finding other Dragon Portals could help him here. A Germination again? I mean, he can just build up more board presence that way. Like he saw last turn his opponent's inability to deal with the 4/9. Just going for straight up tempo. 4-mana 4/9 taunt.
Yep. And one thing that this will do is force Eddie not only to deal with the board, but also to heal. Because he has Malagos double Moonfire in hand. So, Madame Lazul, I don't even know what Madame Lazul could give him for. There's Innervates,
Crystal
Lightning
Power.
Bloom. Crystal Power, sure. Yeah.
It's not great. It looks like Eddie should be dead here soon, momentarily, because I don't think he has enough to do everything, which is clear the board and gain life.
Okay,
Tall
so
task at the moment.
He needs to Madame Lazul, hit a cheap spell, then Cabal, Acolyte, and Broomstick. And is that enough to push through?
Oh, and the bronze explorer to help give him a little bit of extra life. It's only 2 though. I mean, these are great dragons. Oh, Chrono Breaker. He's not hold. He is holding a dragon. Oh, that could have potentially been huge. He was prioritizing the High Priest Ahmed. And this is a good attempt. A very good attempt, but it doesn't seem like it's enough to stabilize here.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't even hold up to the Swipe Moonfires and the Crystal Power, let alone the Malygos combo, so that's going to do it. And Eddie just didn't have a way to clear the board and gain life here. It was just too much. So game number 1 goes to Language Hacker, which looked to be a very powerful draw, and then looked like there was some awkwardness in it. And Language Hacker spotted a very good, consistent line of putting out a nice streamline of pressure onto his opponent. And then Eddie just didn't really have actual substance to his removal, right? He had like soft removal through minions and a bunch of rush, but you need a little bit more if you're going to take down the Druid when they're summoning big dragons.
Yeah, there's always a little bit of awkwardness in Malygos Druid. Feels it's rare that the deck just actually has, because there's so many combo pieces that require 30 damage to kill. You do have to make some weird plays a lot of times in mid game, but Language Hacker's lineup is showing to be the priest killer. I mean, Malygos Druid with essentially maximum greed. I don't even want to call it greed, because at this point Malygos Druid's the standard. If you're trying to beat certain things, you're going to bring Malygos Druid. The greed being like no Lake Threshers, I suppose, minimum beasts. And now he's going to switch to Soul Demon Hunter. And his Soul Demon Hunter is pretty straightforward. The one thing that I do want to point out in the key cards is the Metamorphosis, which is not necessarily a standard inclusion in Soul Demon Hunter. But it is just to provide that little bit of extra damage. I think it is to make it slightly better against Priest. Just because you have additional reach and damage that can happen early in the game, things to do that deal damage, because that's effectively how you want to handle it. But Eddie is going to switch it up to the Pain Warrior. Wait, nope, not Pain Warrior. Bomb Warrior, excuse me. Pain Warrior comes later with Killing All Day. The Bomb Warrior, and his Bomb Warrior is also standard. Warmaw Challenger has become standard in a lot of these Bomb Warrior lists, at least in America's. No Greasy Skipper package. And a Galakron the Unbreakable at the top end with Death of Mad Aspect. So,
yeah, well, it's going to be fun to see if this whose weapon swings will reign supreme, essentially, as Eddie does have a couple of really nice cards with Corsair Cash and Upgrade, but would love to get a little bit more defensive. Defense tools, against the Demon Hunter, simply because they can output damage, I think, a lot quicker than the Bomb Warrior. The Bomb Warrior definitely has better longevity as the game goes on. Because, each swing with the Red Caliber nets 8 damage, but you need to have drawn those bombs. And that's not assuming you even upgrade. However, the Demon Hunter just gets up so quickly, and with things like Wand Maker, such a small mana pool of cards in the 1 mana slot for Demon Hunter, you actually end up hitting things like the Twin Slice pretty consistently, which is why I think this card ends up being very good at Demon Hunter specifically.
Yeah. It's been quite the inclusion. That in Mage, I've been very impressed with the Wand Maker. But the problem with the Bomb Warrior, I feel, it has longevity, yeah, but especially in this matchup, in this variation of the Bomb Warrior, it feels like it does lack the significant health gain that we've come to expect from Warrior. Obviously, they have the hero power and they have shield blocks, but one Sword and Board and Galakron, and that's it. There's no Risky Skipper Armor Smith. There's no way to gain those huge bursts of armor like we see from some other Warrior decks. And because of that, and because it feels like Soul Demon Hunter can deal a little bit more damage, like more upfront damage. I like this particular list from lnguagehackr over Eddie's particular bomb warrior list. Now, that can always change, right? Because it depends, if the bombs are all shuffled into the top third of the deck and they draw them at the right time before they can get like Aldraki Warblades online, then sure, you might be able to sneak some wins as bomb warrior, but it does feel like the Demon Hunter can just race more effectively.
Alright, well, I mean, right now Eddie looks like he has stabilized and it seems like he's pushing the damage right back. So the race is on. Does lnguagehackr have enough to really keep pressing in here? Immediately draws a Soul Fragment, which is nice if he wants to pull the trigger on Skull of Gul'dan this turn. Which I imagine he is thinking about because every other play looks pretty weak in comparison. Skull of Gul'dan. Want to avoid drawing Soul Fragments, want to avoid drawing bombs. Yikes. Looking pretty good for the first two draws.
Yeah. I mean, Aldraki Warblades, that feels like just by itself with one Twin Slice in hand. Like, yeah, okay, I'm feeling pretty good now. One bomb left in the deck, and not a Blastmaster Broom, not available this turn. For Eddie, so lnguagehackr has a couple turns, and there is scenarios where he can set up 2-turn lethals. He's at 19 without too many ways to significantly gain life. Another cutting class for Eddie, though. This is very heavy cycle early on. Problem with this bomb warrior list is, I mean, almost every card is reactive except for the weapons and the weapon buffs. Eddie plays a version with double Coerce, double Blade Storm, double Brawl, Shield Slams, pretty much all of it. Even like Dr. Krasinov wouldn't even have a target. Lord Barov, just nothing to really do. Turn away from Blastmaster Boom, so the big decision here for Eddie is one. Actually, no, never mind. Well, so you could, preload the Lord Barov, so then you can. No, you can't do that. I was gonna say, so then you can attack it in and kill all your bots for a lethal push with Blastmaster Boom, but you need a target to attack into, and you're limiting your board space as well, so you're limiting the amount of bombs you shuffle in the deck. It's kind of a cute play though, and it also puts out more pressure. Is like the primary thing. He has 3 mana left after armoring up. There's no point in like re-equipping a Wrench Caliber. So just the 3 damage might be what he's looking for there. Interesting.
It's really interesting, but like a lot of this damage isn't going to really matter if lnguagehackr is able to rebound as dramatically as he's about to do right now, as it doesn't seem like there's really enough damage from Eddie's side just off of the bombs and the current board presence. I mean, Eddie's seeing like the twin slices that come off of things like the Wand Maker. Very meticulous ordering too from lnguagehackr. I like it. Just to make sure that he's not going to lose out on his Spirit Jailer. Are looking pretty good here so far for the hacker, but Eddie still has some pretty powerful plays queued up here. He has another bomb that he can shuffle in and play the Blastmaster Boom. It does feel like this might be a turn to consider that. Alternatively, he could just remove things like the Shattered Mystic because he wants to protect his health also, because, I mean, frankly, 15 life doesn't feel like a lot against Demon Hunter. And he could re-equip the other Wrench Caliber, and then maybe hope that he ends up drawing things like the Risky Skipper, so that way he can combo. Or sorry, he doesn't have Risky Skipper. Find some other way to combo with his Blastmaster Boom. But that is part of the challenge, right? With this variation of the Bomb Warrior that plays a much more controlling style. Oh, he's gonna go for it. All right. Oh my gosh.
He does have a 3-bomb outer. He's got 3 bombs in the deck. Oh, that's
What?
two! Oh, man.
5, 6. 6 damage on board. 10 through the metamorphosis. Hero power 11. 13 through second slice.
He doesn't have a way to like significantly increase his attack unless he finds another twin slice. Mana burn. Useless. I think he's dead.
I mean,
He has to like double trade into or heal as much as possible. Or he could soul shear into the Blastmaster Boom, or he could double trade into Blastmaster Boom. Wait. Now he doesn't have enough mana for the. Okay.
okay, I like this actually. Very nicely done by Language Hacker, just to try and ensure that he can survive. But I think very, very. Oh, no, it is a guarantee that he's dead because he can just Blade Storm afterwards.
Yeah, I think what he should have done was not hero power and instead gone Soul Shear and then Shard Shatter Mystic.
Right.
No, not Soul Shear.
Well,
no,
it kills his own board then.
It kills his board. Yeah, I don't think there's a good way for him to survive there.
Yeah, especially with that much damage. I mean, Eddie had bombs drawn really close off the top of the deck right after you shuffled a couple the previous turn. So it does seem like Bomb Warrior sometimes just gets those kinds of victories and really able to get the job done. We talked about how explosive some of that damage is, but it does require players to draw the bomb. And when you're drawing so many bombs, it ends up being very difficult to win against the Warrior because then they can always utilize their cards to press in as opposed to simply remove. Because if you look at the deck list from Eddie, as you're talking about, it's a lot more reactive than it is proactive in terms of some of its threat generation. So a big win here for Eddie as we look to Game 3 and see if the Priest or the Hunter comes out here from Eddie.
Yeah, there was 4 bombs total shuffled in, and 3 of the bombs were drawn from Language Hacker before he even drew half the stack. Doesn't happen all the time, but it's part of the win conditions that I mentioned for the Warrior. Even though they can't quite deal as much upfront damage as the Demon Hunter, if those bombs are in the top third, you're gonna get them, especially with Blastmaster Boom as well. One of the only proactive things to be able to do with the deck, coming down on 7 for full value. So now we're going to move on to the Tempo Mage for Language Hacker versus the Highlander Priest for Eddie. Very good opening hand for Eddie with his early game Tempo Minions plus Raise Dead. Looking at how Language Hacker built his Tempo Mage, it is, again, another deck that seems like it's focused on Priest. Very lean, double Wand Maker, and then an Archmage Antonitis tucked in there at the top end. That card alone can definitely swing matchups like this one. Any slow matchup, any slow greedy matchup, like even Malagos Druid, Turtle Mage, any Priest archetype essentially. Provides a must kill. Oh my goodness. Double Mind Render Lucia.
Okay. All right.
I mean, that's honestly one of the best cards against Mage, just because a lot of times they're holding on to combo pieces because of the fact that they're trying to go for those big Sorcerer Apprentice mana cycle. So if you can Mind Render Lucia and just dump one of those things, like just... Is he going to go for it now?
I guess so. He looked like he was indicating that he wanted to go for it now so they can maybe get some of these cheap spells and Mana Giant to really get a huge discount. He hits 5 spells that are playable right now. He's like doing it before the Mind Render opportunity. I mean, this is such a fast start here. He does have a choice between Frostbolt and Incanter's Flow.
I kind of
Both
like the
actually
Incanter's
have a
Flow
case
because
right
it
now.
makes Archmage so good, like even
Right.
better. But the 4 damage that could be relevant because Highlander Priest, its removal is inconsistent. It runs 1 Breath of the Infinite and 1 Wretched Tutor, and that's and Zephyrus, and that's essentially all of its early game removal. But it just feels like Incanter's Flow it's just so valuable. And holy moly, Mana Giant can come down next turn if he wants it.
Okay, Zephyrus is interesting because you could play Zephyrus, go for, say, like a backstab on the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Then when Zephyrus dies, you can raise dead and ensure that you get Zephyrus right back. And you'll have his Disciple and his Zephyrus.
He also has a Sethic Veil Weaver in the pool, though. So it's not guaranteed, but pretty close. I mean, any of these early game minions I would love to have back. I wonder if he just goes for like Raise Dead and Mind Flayer and then tries to trade in the Mind Flayer next turn and then Mind Render and go for his own Sorcerer's Apprentice turn with whatever Language Hacker has in his hand. That would be cool.
Would be pretty cool. I mean, Eddie's deep in the tank thinking about it. If he can even greed this a little bit more, because the other option is to play Mind Flayer and target the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Ends up going for that instead. And I think maybe he's evaluating the power of what he could be doing as he gets more mana crystals with Zephyrus.
Well,
I wonder.
I mean, Mana Giant still looks pretty good here. It's kind of hard for your opponent to remove unless they have the Shadow Word Death or the Ruin. I guess Zephyrus does give Shadow Word Death, so there's that.
yeah.
And
What
like
to
Language
do?
Hacker spent a lot of time and resources trying to make this Mana Giant cheaper. And now really hesitating, almost like he has a little bit of a cold feet moment here. Where it's like, wait, do I want to be playing Mana Giant here?
Time runs out on me.
If you're going to
Seems
spend
like-
that many resources, and the resource being the Sorcerer's Apprentice and the Evocation with a Mana Cyclone in hand, and not play the Mana Giant as soon as you can, then
Right.
I think we have problems about the game plan. And while Eddie has an answer to this, if he answers the Mana Giant, then he's not really answering the remainder of the board. So Language Hacker still can keep pushing. This damage will start racking up. He's got Sorcerer's Apprentice Mana Cycle in his hand. As soon as he hits a card draw, he still has opportunities to pop off. And this is forcing Eddie to deal with it. This will be essentially a forced Zephyrus and Shadow Word Death.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I'm trying to think about any kind of 3-cost spell from Zephyrus that could be really good. And it pretty much comes down to, does you want to take the 6 from the minions or the 8 from the giant? And I think you want to take the 6 from the minions instead. Much more manageable. Oh, Holy Node for next turn. That's actually kind of cute. But interesting that Mark of the Wilds was offered from Zephyrus. I'm not sure exactly where Zephyrus feels like that might be the big impact.
He has a Death Rattle minion.
He does.
That's all I could think of. I don't know.
I guess. I mean, this looks like a good opportunity for Eddie, if you could stabilize, to find that raised dead and try and control the amount of damage being pushed. But Language Hacker has the ability to get tempo on his side with his Blizzard and just pushing damage. And if Eddie chooses to raise that, he's also lowering his own life total as well. Ooh, Penance.
Ooh.
Penance could be huge. as it stops a lot of the aggression. Even has the flexibility of playing the Vile Fiend in this position as well. I do wonder about the timing of this coin, because it's losing more of its impact as time goes on here, given that his hand is almost entirely playable. Finds Zephyrus right back. And Sorcerer's Apprentice? Wait, what? Now he can do that, and he can play the Vile Fiend. lnguagehackr needs a spell. Finds it.
Okay. That is free with Sorcerer's Apprentice. I mean, I'm pretty sure you're going for it. Like, even if you just hit essentially one playable spell, it's still worth it.
Hits 2 spells. Wow. That's 5 spells total right now, with the upside of maybe even more.
I actually really like the not playing. A lot of players would have snapped Sorcerer's Apprentice in that instance and then played the Cram Session, but he played the Cram Session for 1 mana with. Oh my gosh. He played Cram Session for 1 mana because if he had picked up Jandis or Raz, he would have wanted 5 mana. He would have played those almost certainly over trying to go off. Especially since his chain would have been interrupted, the potential of the mana cyclone would have been cut short. But this is a pretty insane opening for lnguagehackr. He's got the problem is this is his last Sorcerer's Apprentice, but he does have the Incanter's Flow in his deck, so his second mana cycle is not fully stranded.
I mean, he also has Pyroblast in hand. So
and his opponent's at 14. He also has an Archmage Tinnitus. So I mean, he's just close to ending the game almost.
Right. To me, it feels like lnguagehackr, because he has that Pyroblast, he can just sneak up on Eddie. Eddie might be like thinking about this whole like Archmage Antonidas and freeze play, because that's a really common thing that a lot of these mages do if they're playing the Antonidas list and you're aware of it. You can sort of like budget around when you anticipate like Frost Nova or something to come from the Antonidas. Moreover, Eddie has like 2 Mindrender Lucias. I am curious what he feels like is the correct timing for it. And he does see that Ray of Frost is in the hand, which might incentivize him to actually play the Mindrender, so that way he has the ability to use things like the Ray of Frost and stall out his opponent's deck. Oh, see him on off the top, though.
Yeah, I feel like the problem that he's had with the Mindrender so far has been lnguagehackr would also get some pretty decent stuff from the Mindrender. And there's no guarantee. Oh, jeez. All right,
so I think this is the setup then. Yeah, you have the opportunity to play the Antonidas and get 2 fireballs. You can double fireball and Pyroblast, and over the course of 2 turns, deal 22 guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
And that unless no wait, because if he does that and his opponent plays Mindrender Lucia, does that change anything?
No. You'd have 5 mana available.
6, because he can coin before he does that, but yeah, that is a good point. Oh wait, he can use this Necro Apothecary to draw the Death Rattle minion and then also gain it. I think that's Violet Spellwing in his deck.
Yeah.
That's funny. Mildly amusing interaction. Oh
Puzzle
my
box.
Goodness gracious. I mean, this game for lnguagehackr had it all in terms of generation, right? Gives him evocation to discount his stuff. Gives him a bunch of cheap spells to be able to activate his Antonidas if he desires. Find some wonky combo synergy that doesn't start in his deck. Even he offers some puzzle box. He ends up doing the rolling fireball.
Oh, Astromancer Solarian.
Okay. So this isn't what looks like to be a 2-turn setup. I think it's not a natural 2-turn setup, but he could.
The problem is he only has 9 mana next turn. He actually gets 5 damage on board. Astromancer Frostbolt would be 5 damage on board would be 9, 10. It's not enough.
Yeah, part of me wonders if Language Hacker was also like prioritizing making his hand a little awkward for Mind Render as well. But it does seem like I think also maybe he was concerned about things like Wave of Apathy and Soul Mirror. These are definitely some really awkward turns here from Language Hacker because he's so far ahead. He's in so much control. He's trying his best way to avoid any kind of opportunity for Priest to pull off their usual shenanigans to make that comeback. And right now, Eddie finally using the coin to play Cobalt Spellkin. A little late to the party. Does feel a little bit too obvious to try to set up lethal if you just play burn this turn. So maybe the Astromancer plus Rolling Fireball here.
Yeah.
To Tiamat.
I kind of feel like Language Hacker's going pretty slow here. That's my concern. Not playing the Archmagia Tinnitus a few turns ago to get the double Fireball. Like, no matter which way you slice it, double Fireball, Pyroblast in hand, even if there is Mind Render, Lucia's should be able to get the job done. He also had a Frostbolt. Maybe he was worried about like Apotheosis or something along those lines, but like he's also now dumping his spells. So he's like making his Archmagia Tinnitus potentially weaker. Maybe he just wants to guarantee that he has more fireballs. But like Mind Render or Lucia can only ever dump one. And if Eddie is spending his whole turn Mind Rendering and then playing one fireball, you can usually capitalize on that by playing more mana from their hand. We'll see. He's got, Language Hacker has to have a plan. He wouldn't be playing this unless he was worried about something specific.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree there, and I think that Language Hacker's too good of a player to, like, avoid going for an obvious line of play unless he was 100% locked in on a specific interaction that he knew that he could lose the game from.
You require my assistance.
Now I think is the time for him to feel comfortable enough to go. Ray of Frost gives him the double Fireball. And Eddie does have an opportunity to actually clean this up through Plague of Death. He doesn't actually have to... Oh, Soul Mirror. I was going to say he doesn't actually have to Mind Render in return, because you do have to account for the fact that Antonitis is a 5/7 that can also challenge the board and push damage. Whew, this is tough, actually, from Eddie's perspective, because Soul Mirror does look appealing, but then, like, how do you win if your opponent pushes you down to just a little bit of life? Alright, so 22 damage is in the hand. Eddie's at 22 life without the ability to heal himself. This looks, on paper, pretty good, and there's a way that Language Hacker can do it craftily by playing, like, double Fireball and Mana Cyclone, making it seem like he's just trying to charge his Mana Cyclone stuff, and then inconspicuously set up a 2-turn lethal.
Yeah.
I like this a lot. Whoa! Oh, I forgot also the Elemental Allies, which is huge.
Eddie needs healing. You may not know it.
Which he, incidentally, might be able to get some stuff. Like, let's say Language Hacker doesn't play these cheap spells. Mind Render Lucia gives Eddie the ability to maybe use use Magic Trick, find a cheap spell to heal himself.
Yeah.
And get out of range, right? Radiance would be huge.
Yeah. Or Renew into Radiance would be even huger. There's also Dragon Queen Alexstrasza. There's actually a decent amount of healing. You can find Alexstrasza.
Murazond is playing with fireballs.
Yeah. Cobalt Spellkin still though. Radiance. Renew. Finds Radiance.
Finds Radiance. That's huge.
Yeah, that is actually very huge.
Oh my goodness. Is there a
there's-
lethal here that I'm not paying attention to right now?
No. Well, yeah, puzzle box.
Okay. And then
That's a lethal.
in that same vein, evocation is also a potential.
Well, it would have to be evocation into puzzle box, but sure.
No, it'd be evocation and then gives you
Double
2
fireball.
fireballs.
Yep.
And then that's how you kill it.
But puzzle box of Yogg-Saron could also do that as well,
Right.
and even more actually. Give you 2 pyroblasts.
You don't pick the ones.
It's actually a difficult turn.
Right.
Because you really don't want to just pyroblast and then just hope that you get there
Runs
next
out
turn.
on me.
Because against
Right,
priest,
'cause-
it's not going to happen. And you're leaving 11 power on board. Apotheosis comes out. You're never killing them again. Because you spent 10
Maybe
mana.
that was actually the outs that Language Hacker was playing around the entire time, like just preventing any apotheosis that would change the math on a lot of his damage.
Yeah.
That sounds probably more like the scenario that we're thinking of. Some pretty mediocre minions pop out here. Language Hacker looks pretty distraught here. I'm not exactly sure if he's unhappy with the result, because that is pretty bad of a Conjurer's Calling situation, or if maybe he missed something in terms of his own sequencing or plays. Either way, Eddie now has the obligation to respond to the board.
Yeah. You can also play
and
Murazon.
can even play Murazon right after. And there's really no bad target for his Conjurer's Calling now.
Yeah. I mean, he also just gets a bunch of minions, too. That gets Magic Trick. Picks up Inner Fire. Oh my goodness. All right, the Brain Freeze, not so good. But all the other stuff, fantastic.
Right. Does it come down to the puzzle box? Language Hacker doesn't have to immediately play the puzzle box. He does have his Caligos.
Yeah. Or you could, like,
It feel-
Evocation first. The 0-mana Evocation. See if he picks up, like, Frost Nova.
Right.
And then he might be able to develop a little bit or do something. He's got 2 Evocations in hand. There's, like, no time, given this game state, to use
Yeah.
anymore.
I don't think
So
he
I
can...
might do that first.
I don't think he can play Evocation, because then... Well, I guess he can't really play Caligos afterwards. I like the Caligos because it gives you 3 spells that you want to look from anyways. None of these look particularly good.
All
And
right.
here we go, TJ.
Here we go.
Language Hacker needs to find some way to stall the board or destroy it. Well, I mean, those are
Oh.
big minions. Oh, jeez. Oh, no.
Oh.
Whoa.
Oh, no.
Time runs out
Okay.
Okay. Looks like he's at least destroyed some of the board. Summoned a huge board himself. 8, 10, 19, 21. 21 damage. Is there a way for Eddie to get there? We know Bamboozle and Counterspell are up right now. But he has spell damage, and he has Inner Fire. I'm looking, TJ. It doesn't look very obvious. There also could be lethal on the other side. If Eddie plays Mind Render, maybe he finds a way, but he also has to stabilize onto the board because there's so much power going the opposite way. So if he can't lethal, he's going to die potentially on the backswing.
This is tough. All right, so Inner Fire, test for Counterspell, Spellbender. I like starting off with that. Okay, gets the Counterspell. Now has... Oh, man. You can trade over the 2/2 into the Mana Giant. Then Cabal Acolyte, Wave of Apathy. And then trade down. Oh, no. What you do is you'd Shadow or Death the Mana Giant. Oh, never mind. I don't know what he's doing.
I think he's going Wave of Apathy. And then I like Evasive Draconid.
Evasive Draconid?
here.
Yeah, but he
Yeah.
hasn't tested for Ambush.
Oh, you're right. Oh, this is so close, but I think Eddie is not aware of that Pyroblast. It gotta be the Evasive Draconid.
Oh my gosh. That was...
Okay, a chance
I don't
for
know
lethal.
about that
Oh,
one, Dan.
a pretty good chance for lethal. The Pyroblast is free. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, the Pyroblast is free because of Calgos. That's why I kind of like trading down.
Wait,
I
and
don't
then you
know.
could trade. You could trade, and then or you could just play Raz. That's also lethal.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this was so complicated back and forth. You can see Eddie really unhappy to see the Pyroblast, and rightfully so. And with 2 minor Lucias in the hand, it also felt like a very interesting game to analyze retroactively to see if there were any signs, perhaps on Language Hacker's perspective, to indicate that maybe there's an opportunity for some disruption. Language Hacker also, kind of the way he was shaking his head, it looked like a big sigh of relief. He needs this win. I mean, Eddie would love that win, but he doesn't need it nearly as badly as Language Hacker does. And this is, the #1 seed in Division A going into Stage 2. So this is a hard match for Language Hacker. His strength of schedule seems to improve after this one. Man, pretty big back and forth. A lot of thoughts on that game, TJ. Anything that you want to talk about right now?
Just, I think a sloppy game, honestly. We mentioned that, like, Archmage Antonius was being held onto for a while. He could have gotten 2 fireballs way early on in the game. Yeah, granted, it wouldn't have been on an empty board, but it would have put so much more pressure on Eddie because he had a board of his own. He didn't even have mana he wasn't even going into a turn where he had mana for Plague of Death. He played Zephrys, both Zephyrs already for double Shadow Word Death. Not a great way to answer it. It would have set up a 2-turn lethal if he couldn't answer it directly. That could have just ended the game quickly, let alone with the Pyroblast in hand. And then Eddie, towards the end there, I feel like
Ends now.
he's not dealing with that board. You can just kind of... That's his puzzle box. Obviously, he's desperate because he Calighost into puzzle box. Just play the Wave of Apathy and trade down on his board. He also played like he, went back and forth on playing the Evasive Draconid. Like, if you're going to make that play, you should, hope that you shouldn't have to hope that your Evasive Draconid is just not going to get ambushed, right? Like, because he had not checked for it yet. He only checked for counter. He hadn't checked for any other and ambush. He hadn't checked for any of the rogue secrets. So I don't know. Just kind of a sloppy second half that game. Be interesting to hear the thoughts on both players. Maybe I'll talk to them about it later this week.
Yeah, I am pretty interested, and TJ and Sato have been doing some excellent sit-down discussions with some of the other GMs, and really getting an opportunity to get to know them. I highly recommend you check it out, as it's really, really fun to watch, especially when you get to meme it up a little bit, ham it with the players. But either way, let's go into game number 4 here, as we do have the first early turns already set, as Language Hacker did end up playing that Spirit Jailer, and it's getting contested right now by the Mind Flayer card. His hand looks pretty explosive. It's got a lot of big damage. I do actually end up liking things like Metamorphosis, because it does feel like when people play around the conventional Demon Hunter, they aren't really accounting for Metamorphosis, which still can output a pretty good amount of damage despite its nerf. And I often feel like people are so intent on shutting down the hero attack that they don't really play around things like the burst that can just come from the hero power with Metamorphosis. So I do think it's a pretty good idea. I am waiting to see if it ends up being, in practice, exactly what Language Hacker is hoping for.
Yeah, we shall see. That's really the only change in the deck. So we'll see if one card difference is kind of what pushes the Demon Hunter over the edge against the Highlander Priest. Oh wow! And he's like, yeah, that's a lot of damage. That's 17 damage that he knows is in Language Hacker's hand. That's a lot of information.
Right.
But it's also
It's just
scary
like-
because you're like, oh man, okay, well, I can penance something. That's 3 health.
Right, exactly. There's like associated damage with it too, right? Like your opponent hero powers and plays Glaive Mounted Depths. There's an extra point of damage there. You have to kill that 6/4. Metamorphosis also allows your opponent to hero power right after they use a second charge. So there's a lot more to it than simply just like the damage that you see front loaded here.
Not too quickly.
I guess from Eddie's perspective, what's the best to use? It has to be Metamorphosis. He doesn't have any Soul Fragments. He doesn't have the ability to use his hero to attack right now.
Yeah.
So I think this makes the most sense to me, even if it's not ideal.
Yeah. There's the argument of like, oh, well, you could pick a minion, but
I grow
Metamorphosis does help
impatient.
answer those minions from Language Hacker's side, so without having to take damage. Language Hacker, this is usually turn 4 outside of Marl Slicer is the turn where your setup turn for one of your 5 drops, whether it be Glaive Bound or Soul Shard Lapidary. Okay. It's going to develop. I like this. The other option was like Blade Dance and Push. But Blade Dance is only going to get better. I mean, the 3-2 on board is more power than just having the Spirit Jailer on board. And she's going to take the time to set up Metamorphosis, I guess.
Sure.
Oh, that's a lot of damage. Oh, boy.
I mean,
I feel like Eddie's going to die really fast.
It just feels like the priest doesn't have enough healing to keep up with the mana burn. And this does seem like it is very much a situation where Language Hacker just runs over the priest, and this is kind of a class that he was hoping to kind of beat. And beat repeatedly, which I believe with this win will be successful in doing so.
Yep.
Beating the priest 3 times is not exactly something I think we were anticipating.
Dance, puppet, dance.
I mean, oh, he doesn't have another soul shard, soul fragment for the lapidary at this point, which is kind of
yeah.
amazing.
He can go Twin Slice, Second Slice, Hero Power, Blade Dance.
Yep.
Unfortunately, that'd be his whole turn. But he is putting Eddie down to 9, which means that just like Metamorphosis over the next 2 turns is enough.
Yeah.
If Eddie doesn't have healing, he doesn't even have to develop a minion to give Eddie a target for anything that could heal.
A simple spit.
Yeah, more importantly, he also keeps the Apotheosis in check. Renew off the top.
An embalming ritual, which means this is very difficult to deal with. He's very likely to have a target for Apotheosis next turn.
And Language Hacker can make that read, which means that if he wants to pick apart this board state, he's got to use... Well, actually, I don't think he can remove that Cobalt Spellkin off the board.
Nope, can't. I think it's just
Wow.
Hero Power, attack face, Metamorphosis face. Even if he has Apotheosis, just hope that... Because it would negate all the damage you did this turn if he has Apotheosis, right? He's actually has a Metamorphosis hero power that he hasn't been able to use, so he can't use his hero power to heal. So I think this is just a race scenario. And you put him down to 7. Next turn you have 9 from hand. Actually, 10 from hand, because you can Chaos Strike, Metamorphosis, and Glaive Bound at him. So in order for Eddie to survive... no, all he has to do is Apotheosis. I thought he was just like exactly going up to 10. All right. Language Hacker slightly out of reach.
Okay. Ah, doesn't have the lapidary. But he can now actually utilize the metamorphosis to kill the Cobalt Spellkin.
Yeah.
Which I think is the priority right here.
Uh,
2,
I grow
6,
No, he
7,
can't.
12. Why can't he? He hero powers the Spellkin, and then he hero powers again, then he plays a Glaive Benedict.
he has to attack before he. Oh, he can do it, yeah, but he can't kill both ends of it.
Oh yeah, but you kill off the end that has Apotheosis at the very least.
Yes.
I feel like, which
Now he
seems to
can't
be mission critical.
Oh no, he still can't do it.
Man, I think he was really hoping for a little bit extra damage, so that way he could use his Blade Dance here.
Oh! Okay, I actually like this because he doesn't think that he can afford to use Glaive-Bound Adept for damage. It also means that Soul Shear gets the Soul Fragments in his deck, so Soul Shard Lapidary is active.
Ah, yes, okay.
I like this.
Okay.
Yeah, this is good.
I wasn't
This is
sure,
really good.
but when we're talking about the Soul Shard Lapidary and the Soul Fragment dynamic,
Yeah.
I can get behind that for sure.
Yeah.
But he still has bigger problems now. Like, he might be in danger of dying. 11 on the board, 14 health.
Yeah.
It's like, there's another thing, too, that's associated with that, which is getting the Glaive-Bound on the board is also a 6/4. And, like, he could totally Soul Shear and then Lapidary the following turn. I do understand exactly what you're saying, and I think Language Hacker really thought it through. It's just, I wish there was a little bit more time to kind of analyze those lines, because the Soul Shard Lapidary, Soul Shear, and the Blade Dance this turn looks way better. Obviously, we have the benefit of hindsight and caster vision, so it's much easier to make those calls. But like right now, Language Hacker is struggling a little bit to stabilize here. Marrow Slicer off the top is very nice, though, so that he can use it next turn. He can play a Soul Shard Lapidary, push that damage, see if his opponent has a way to answer. Then next turn he has Marrow Slicer, Glaive-Bound, and Hero Power, and that would be 9 from the hand.
Yeah.
Okay, so he ends up going for this. This still feels similar in burst, but he sets up more power on the board, which I like.
And he kills off the 3/1, which could be important.
Oh, I mean, Eddie's looking for lethal here. Caligos. Penance. I mean, that's triple Penance, which is a full board clear off of removal spells.
9 life gain. Oh my gosh. Is there a way that he can find lethal?
I mean, yes, but it has to require some pretty ridiculous stuff, like Brightwing would give him Grom Hellscream.
Yeah. Just triple penance. 13. Can he kill him with any Kane combination from 13?
Right, because Eddie wants a taunt here, right? Taunt and Divine Shield.
So
And then trade.
it would be Kane, Soul Shard, Lapidary, Twin Slice, which would be 10. No. Kane plus Wand Maker, and then both natural Twin Slices. That would be 3 plus 8, 11. Yeah, I don't think there would be a single way for him to kill with Kane at 13. So, and he does draw Kane. So he can push 9 damage and then die. Can Skull pick up anything? He can pick up Aldraki Warblades and both Twin Slices and a bunch of... Nope, never mind. Because he had already played a Twin Slice. So if he picked up Aldraki Warblade, a free Twin Slice, and then the 2 Soul Fragments he had left in his deck, maybe. They just would have
That's
no way to
gonna
get
do
through
it.
the taunt regardless. I don't know. That's just a tough one.
Wow. Impressive game from Eddie to stabilize versus Demon Hunter. And is now on match point for both of these players. A scary moment for Language Hacker, who looked like he was in commanding position to win 3-2 and maybe get his first win during the round robin stage. But I mean, Eddie played pretty tight with some of the options that he had, and ultimately recognized the moment to extend onto the board with Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, identified kind of what Language Hacker was hoping for, and even like utilizing things like his metamorphosis and being patient while also trying to pace things out. Like overall, really well done by Eddie. Also, really scary moment for Language Hacker. We're going with Face Hunter versus the Demon Hunter. And I gotta say that Face Hunter is one of the scariest decks right now to face, because if you have a hand that just slightly falters a little bit in the early game, it feels like Face Hunter is just gonna punish you super hard. And you start the game with 17 health when you play like your second card. And then they're just on a position to win the game from there. It's really fast, really scary. This deck is explosive.
Yep. It is,
it's on the play.
On paper, Soul Demon Hunter's best matchup. By a lot.
Yeah, I do think that Soul Demon Hunter does have some of the best tools to fight against it, because, obviously it does have a lot of healing in it.
Yep. And removal for wide board states. Like the widest board states that Hunter can make. Like a single Eldrazi Warblade is oftentimes enough to beat Face Hunter. Shard-Shatter Mystic obviously really good too, because it kills almost everything except for a Scavenger's Ingenuity'd Phase Stalker or Lord Keeper Polkelt. And then beyond that, it's just about, finding Eldrazi Warblades. And honestly, Soul Fragments too. A lot of what Face Hunter's game plan is counting damage, and they do that a lot of times. They're like, okay, I can't focus on the board from this point anymore, so all I need to do is just count my damage, and a single Soul Fragment can interrupt their game plan and just lose them the game. You talked about yesterday how one mistake as Face Hunter can be game losing. Well, sometimes that one mistake comes in. See, Eddie's just sad about a Soul Jailer because he knows that that's 4 healing that's in the deck plus a 1/3, which is crazy to think that minion alone is enough. Also, it activates the Shard-Shatter Mystic, so just a single card, that plus Eldrazi Warblades makes Face Hunter just sad.
Yeah, we looked at the lineup here from Language Hacker, and I was kind of saying how it looked like he was in a pretty good position to punish certain decks, but one deck that also seems to also have some pretty bad matchups is Eddie's Face Hunter, because Language Hacker's Face Hunter himself looks pretty well equipped to even sometimes win the mirror, if he ended up coming down to it.
Yeah,
and I actually played some games of Language Hacker's Hunter and won the mirror because of some of the text that he included. So it does seem like this is a deck completely on Language Hacker's radar, and he's accounted for it. So it's not by accident that he happens to have a lineup that seems to be well fitted for Face Hunter, despite it not being the most popular archetype that we see here this weekend.
Yeah, the only sketchy one is probably the Malygos Druid, because it's not a good matchup against Face Hunter. But honestly, if you're going to bring Druid, Malygos Druid is probably better than Guardian Druid against Face Hunter, because you have more removal, straight up removal. You also have more healing, because on average you're playing more Crystal Power.
Right.
So,
well,
maybe soft
this one's
target.
looking very good for Language Hacker. He's even got the Warblades, and he's got more damage. He actually doesn't have to play the Warblade right now, because he can just go for the damage, and if he needs to play the Warblades to heal up, he can.
Yep. He's sitting pretty.
Voracious Reader.
With Pack Tactics.
Right. Pack Tactics.
Pack Tactics.
Pack Pack tactics.
Oh, okay. Lorekeeper Polkelt.
What is he attacking with right now? I'm trying to imagine right now if Language Hacker has equipped something so fast that the game hasn't really caught up in spectator mode, or if the innkeeper is telling you how to win this game.
It's like, go face, my friend.
It's an indicated step, if you will.
He's saying, look out for the pack tactics.
Pack tactics. Hey, remember,
this.
here's a secret. Hey, right over here. Look. Hey, over here. Look. What's that question mark? Hey.
Yeah. Very likely to be pack tactics, actually. No,
Pack
just 50.
tactics.
Not very likely. Pack tactics.
Yeah,
Pressure
especially
plate
with
and freezing
the
trap, the
face
only two
stalker.
other secrets that he plays one of.
Right.
So this will pull pressure plate or freezing trap, as mentioned.
Yes. And one way that you can actually get that damage recursively, which is important, is that Eagle Horn bow. Eddie finding a way to make it happen. Lorekeeper Polkelt plus the Dragonbane in hand, meaning that Eddie can just get his kill commands soon as well.
Yep.
There's a chance. I would say that it's still looking a little slim, especially with the second Shard Shatter Mystic drawn. That is pretty devastating. Another thing, to talk about, which is that AoE can be devastating for Face Hunter, which is why a single Holy Nova can often be backbreaking for the Face Hunter if they're able to stick a minion Holy Nova then play Apotheosis. But usually Face Hunter is pretty good at stopping that, because that's why the secrets like Pressure Plate and Freezing Trap end up coming into play. Ooh, playing the Panthera. Get some board presence, maybe activate it.
I'm okay with this.
Dragonbane, hero power. Kind of wondering if Eddie just wants to trade in, but I think he has a third secret to pull. Then he goes for it.
Second War Blades.
Yep.
This Dragonbane though is a little bit of an issue because of the
Yes. He can
tactics.
kill it. Pack tactics. He can kill it though if he chooses to use his Jockey Warblades and his Chaos Strike. This actually does feel a little bit like a line that maybe is worth even discussing, which is Language Hacker went for card draw on turn 3, and as a result didn't develop meaningfully anything proactive, giving Eddie an opportunity to set up. And while Language Hacker looked pretty comfortable, Pressure Plate giving him an extra charge here. And he looked pretty comfortable. Language Hacker trying to now aggro down Eddie and race him with a Dragonbane on board. This is definitely a little bit scary situation.
Slightly. He does have a ton of, dealing slash damage.
Yeah. And
It's just
Language
he's at
Hacker
12.
has how much damage right now?
Such a beautiful
And he can Blade Dance afterwards, but if he doesn't hit Polkelt, if he doesn't hit Dragonbane, oh my god, he hits Polkelt and Dragonbane!
So if he hits the three worst targets there, there's
He is lethal, I think.
6, 9. Yeah, there's lethal.
Oh
there.
my goodness.
Yeah.
That was so close, because if the Dragonbane hit, there's a strong chance that Eddie would be able to go for lethal. And as a result, Language Hacker has it through the Gleithbound Adept. Super tight one. Oh my goodness. Well done. Language Hacker gets his first win in Grandmasters, and boy, was that one tight. A lot closer than he would have preferred.
Yeah,
Hey,
a
hard
couple games
fought
actually,
battle.
probably a lot closer than he would have preferred. That was just a very close series overall.
Yeah, I would say that all three of Language Hacker's wins were all like ones where maybe Eddie could have won if he didn't have that exact damage, or like if he was a turn too slow.
Yeah.
The mage game, for example, was like a little bit of a struggle at the end. The druid, of course, it looked good, and then there was a moment where it looked pretty awkward.
Yeah.
But yeah, looks like Language Hacker gets that win. So a nice one in the books.